Welcome to the SMW podcast. This is where warriors share their stories and their knowledge on the art of Steel Mace training. This month's podcast sponsor is Adex Clubs and Maces, and we'd like to thank you for giving our listeners a better listening experience. To find out more about Adex Clubs and Maces, go to www.adexclub.com. What's up, Steel Mace Warriors? Today we have someone special, and you're from Chicago, right?
Correct. Yep.
All
Born
right.
and raised.
Wow, that's cool. I might have some Chicago questions. All right, so you're from Chicago. You're a Steel Mace and movement coach. This is what your Instagram says. So I'm just going by that until I hear your story.
Yes.
But welcome, Paulina, Coach Paulina. And how do you say your last name?
It's Paulina Kairys. So last name is
Kairys. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. That's not too bad. I was like asking my partner, I was like, how do you pronounce this? How would you pronounce this? And like, we tried for like ever. And I was like, I'm just going to ask her.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. I know. I love hearing people's pronunciations. They're always just so different.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been through that. Like if you go back in every podcast episode, I'm like, how do you say your last name? Because I always have tough ones. I don't get away from it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk about your warrior story. All right. So I believe everyone has a warrior story. Like, what were you doing before you picked up the Steel Mace?
That is a great question. So I was working at Equinox at the time, and we had like a bunch of different certifications within the club, which was awesome. So the latest certification that I took was a kettlebell one. It was a level 1 cert. So I was really diving into kettlebell training, and it was basically the foundations of a swing, a single arm swing, Turkish get up, all that fun stuff. Yeah. So that's when I really started to incorporate kettlebell training into my routine. And yeah, it was very basic. So I would just do strength exercises, anything with the barbell. And the kettlebell kind of took over because I'm obsessed with power movements. So anything that has like a swing in there or any type of jumping, like I really enjoy. So that's what I was doing before I saw the Steel Mace itself.
Yeah. You mentioned jumping, and I'm like, I fucking hate jumping. I'll tell you, like someone says, do a jump squat with a mace. I'm like,
no, thank you.
No, thank you. So you like that stuff.
I like that stuff. Yeah. Something that's like a little bit more athletic. I grew up dancing. I wasn't really good at dancing, but I still really tried. Like I was on my high school pom team. Oh my God, that was so good to like watch back that footage because I thought I was much better than what I really was. So yeah, and like with dance, there's like a lot of jumping, leaps, all that stuff, like a lot of power movements. So I think that, just naturally transferred over into my training.
Yeah. And I caught you dancing before we started this podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely catch me dancing in between stuff. So I'll just kind of.
Yeah. I was like, I caught you. No, I'm just kidding.
Guilty.
All right. So you like dancing, but did you always have this lean body? Because I feel like you have like the perfect body for dancing and jumping.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, I've always had like a natural lean stature, but I've had phases in my life where I was maybe a little bit more bloated, and that, directly correlated with my diet. And it's crazy because now with the mace, my limbs are just so long that whenever I pick one up, it just feels like such a long lever with just certain exercises. Yeah, but the goal for me is never like physical. At one point when I first like came into the fitness industry, it was all bodybuilding. Yeah, maybe I want to compete in a bikini show, like very motivated by those physical results. But now it's just like, for me, it's more performance goals that are going to drive what I do within my routine. So
yeah, and you do such a great job with the Steel Mace stuff. Like, I mean, that's obviously why I have you on here. I found you last year, and I was gonna have you on the podcast last year, and then I fucking got sick in season 3.
No.
And yes, and I had all these scheduled podcasts. Like I was reaching out to people, and yeah. So I mean, your Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
It's just my name. So it's at Paulina Kairys.
Okay. So if someone wants to check you out, yeah, because I mean, I think you're really flexible.
Thank you. Yes, hypermobile is a better term.
Yeah, because I see you and I'm like, God, we're not supposed to do this. We're not supposed to fucking compare each other. But right. I'm always like, God, I wish I had her fucking flexibility. It's great.
Thank you. And it's definitely like challenging at times because I really struggle with my end ranges of motion. So if I'm doing like a super deep squat, for me to control the bottom range is really difficult. And then I kind of like, if I need to get out of the squat, I'm just lazy. And then I'll do like some like weird shimmy to get out of that position.
Yeah.
Same with the mace, like in a 360, like I'll just like kind of feel my shoulders just open up way too much. So I have to like control that range. Yeah. And functional range conditioning, I'm not certified, but like I'm looking into that. So you can, condition the joints and have control in certain ranges. But yeah, flexibility isn't always a good thing if you can't control it. So
it's so fucking cool that we brought it up, because now I'm thinking, what if someone else has this issue? Like what would you recommend for someone with like who's too flexible, I guess?
Too flexible. I think definitely. So for me, like diving into like the FRC, like the conditioning and all that stuff, even though I'm not certified, like I really try to like research it as best as I can and understand it from what I can. But it's definitely like, if you can train a pause squat safely, like do that and hold the end ranges of motion, train in isometrics. And whenever you're doing an exercise, making sure that every single repetition it looks the same and it feels the same. So for instance, let's go back to the squat. If you're doing like a super ass to grass squat first, and then every rep is it's looking different, it's not the same range, then I wouldn't really practice that type of conditioning for the body. So
got it.
I think that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense to me. Hopefully
right.
Someone listening. I mean, it sounds easy. Okay, so I went on your Instagram because I spy on everyone before I have them on the podcast. And you said that you've been stepping back from Steel Mace to learn other things. And then now you're stepping back in, right? And you're kind of utilizing what you're learning. What have you been up to?
Oh my gosh. So I've done so much, and it's been a journey through, COVID and everything. So while we were in lockdown, I still had access to a gym, CrossFit Notorious. I actually work there and I train with a bunch of the coaches that work there as well. And during the lockdown, we had just this free time to really experiment and dive into something new. So what we chose was Strong Fit training, and Strong Fit is a program. It's created by Julian, and I can only remember his handle as Rare Barracuda. Like,
that's good enough.
They also have a podcast, so if you guys are interested, like look up Strong Fit. So their training is all like the foundation and the fundamentals of strength. So we did a lot of sandbag stuff, lots of rope pulls, sled pushes, bear crawls. So super heavy lifting, something that like I don't necessarily enjoy, because immediately, like when you pick up a heavy bag, your body goes into flight mode. It's like, ooh, like I don't want to do this, but you're forcing me to, so maybe I'll go into fight mode. So we had 16 weeks of brutal training. So we got their training program, and now we were, diving headfirst into sandbags, all that stuff that I just mentioned. And I wasn't really touching the mace during that whole process of 16 weeks, but I would see it on the wall. I was kind of looking back at me like, why haven't we trained in so long? So after 16 weeks, surprisingly, like picking up a mace, it was weird because it did feel heavy. The 10 pounds itself. So it was I did like a few switches and my hands kind of felt weird. Like, my wrists weren't used to like the whole pull apart thing, and same with my back muscles, which is so odd. I'm like, come on, I was just lifting such heavy weights, and all of a sudden now I pick up a mace and it feels even heavier than before.
I
But
was
then
just gonna say that. I was like, how weird. You were doing a strength training program
Yep.
with such odd tools, and then you go back and you're like, wow, this is fucking heavy. And this is just to show, like, there's a lot of people who they always ask me, like, on Instagram, how much does that weigh? And I'm like, 10, 15 pounds. And they're always kind of like, that's light. And I'm like, no, it's not. You don't understand.
In that case, just hand them the mace.
I wish.
No word.
Mean, most of the people I reach out on Instagram, if I could, I would have been like, here.
Yes.
Take it.
Just pick it up and like tell me it's light after a class or something like that. Because usually, like, you know, people are like sweating so much and they're like, oh, like it was just 10 pounds, but it was so heavy. But yeah, so I picked it up and it felt heavy. But then as soon as I started swinging, the swing felt so much lighter. And I'm like, why is that the case? So I don't know. I just realized that the foundational strength that I had built was more functional in a sense. Like my movements felt like a little bit more natural, like those heavy squats, heavy deadlifts. And then that rotational movement of the 360 felt a lot better. Like I said, I'm hypermobile, and you know, the shoulders and my scapulas themselves, they don't always feel great with a lot of rotation, and being able to build up that core oblique strength, and then just in general, like that thoracic mobility, as we were doing like a lot of rotational stuff with training, the 360 felt great. And yeah, I couldn't be happier. I was like so excited to get back into it. And yeah, it's just been like really rewarding taking a step back, you know, and then learning so much in the process, and now recently like getting back into it and experimenting more.
And all this time, I mean, have you been posting though? I feel like you have so many videos on your Instagram, but I guess I was just looking at the same shit over and over again. I mean, you just have so much shit on there.
Yeah. So recently I haven't really been posting just because I did start a new job. So, you know, that's been my priority, is like focus on work. And to like with posts, I overanalyze everything. So it goes from the movements that I'm showing to the caption that goes underneath it. You know, like I dedicated this Instagram solely to educate other people about Steel Mace training. I'm not really transparent with my personal life, which is, you know, I like to keep that stuff to myself. I also think that Instagram, it's so easy to overshare, and I'm not about that. I'm like, okay, you're following me for a reason. This is
break. Okay, guys. So this is what happened. We forgot to mention the challenge. By the time me and Paulina were done with our conversation, we realized that we did not mention the challenge anywhere within the podcast episode. So here I am breaking up the podcast episode to give you the challenge. Now, many of you requested that we continue the challenges even without giveaways, because I didn't really set anything up with this month's sponsor. But if you want to jump in and do it just for fun and for play, here is the challenge by Coach Paulina. So I thought it was genius. I freaking loved it when she mentioned it. She wants you to do 360s, and you get to do 360s for 3 minutes and 60 seconds. So that's a total of 4 minutes. So 360s, guys. And she also mentioned that if you want to, you can get super creative with it, add some variation to your 360s. And don't forget to tag me and Paulina for this, okay? Because we want to check you out. We want to see you doing 360s, okay? So thank you so much for listening. And now I will let you get back to your podcast episode.
This is the Steel Mace, and this is what you want to learn. Like, great, I'm going to bring that information to you. So,
and this is why I was telling my partner today, I was like, I have her on here because I know nothing about her and I want to know more about her. I'm like a fucking chismosa. That's what we call it in Spanish, a fucking chismosa. But I was like, I want to know more about her. She's so awesome. I need to know more about her story. So what led you to the Steel Mace? You said it was kettlebells, essentially, right? It went from kettlebells and then.
Yes, but like I didn't know what a Steel Mace was at that point. So when I first saw it, it was literally through Instagram, and I was having a hard time with Instagram. I was like, that's it. Like, I'm going like to delete all my social media. I was so sure of it. And I stumbled upon a video of someone swinging a mace, and I was so confused because I literally thought this was like circus stuff popping up. Right. I'm like, okay, because I follow some acrobats. Great, you know, this is some sort of functional training that they do, you know, for performances. And so I stumbled upon this, and then I had sent it over to my partner, Jacob, and he saw it as well. So we kind of just dove like a little bit further, doing some research, looking through Instagram, and saw that this was a trend. Hashtag Steel Mace training, hashtag 360 swing, like all the hashtags that you could them. And then so we brought this inquiry to our boss at CrossFit Notorious, Gerardo. And we did a little bit more research, and we found a gym in Chicago. It was West Chicago. I know they recently moved. MSP, Midwest Strength and Performance.
Right. They're so famous. Yes.
I love them so much. And we had no idea what Steel Mace was, but these guys were already training and, hosting classes to their members for years. And we were like, okay, like we have to go visit them and take a private class. So TJ, he took us through a private class, the three of us, and then I think we had two other coaches join us at the time. So that was my first Steel Mace class, was with TJ, and he just did such a great job describing everything in like detail, but also not overwhelming us. He gave us enough time to experience what the Steel Mace is without overthinking it. And I loved that type of coaching, because typically, I don't know if you've experienced this with a coach, they just overwhelm you, and you're like, I don't even want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
So that was my first exposure to it. And then TJ had mentioned, hey, we're hosting a Steel Mace certification here. The certification is called Viking Ninja, and it's in a few months. And I was like, okay, like I already know that I love this tool. So a few months later, the three of us, we came back and we got certified with Viking Ninja.
Yeah. And I was like, I literally went to like the very end of your Instagram. Here goes Victoria again with Instagram. But I went all the way to the end, and I was like, she's Viking Ninja. Like I wanted to know who you learned from. So that's really cool. So did you learn, you had one-on-one with Eric, right?
Yes. Yep. With Eric. And then I think Jimmy was helping out with the body weight portion, and same with Zach.
All right. That's so cool.
Yeah, and this was before the TAC Fit. See, I have no idea. The merge.
Yeah, the merge.
Yeah, because I've really not looked into TAC Fit training at all, which is shame on my part.
Yes.
But I know they had merge. This is before the merge.
I know that the head honcho there, Scott, and he's supposed to be like amazing. And I myself have not bought any of his programs. Like I think if I get into it, I want to buy one of his programs first, because I've heard they're like super awesome and they're more affordable than the certificates. Like I don't want to really jump into any tech certifications. Like I want to learn more about it, but for sure I jumped in on the Steel Mace stuff, right? But yeah, I'm right there. I'm right there with you with the tech fit.
Yeah. So that's how everything started. And it was in a matter of like a few months, and all of a sudden the three of us are certified, and we thought, how do we start introducing our CrossFit members to the Steel Mace? Like imagine you're literally a CrossFitter, and this lean little trainer is telling you that this 10-pound Steel Mace is going to give you results.
What year was this?
2019.
Okay. I just wanted the year.
Yep. So it's been 2 years already, which is crazy.
Okay.
So it was, oh my God, like a challenge trying to introduce the Mace to the CrossFit community. But we've made some progress, and now I'm hosting only one class a week, which is fine. Ultimately, the goal is to do more during the week. So it's one class. I have my good little group that they're swinging the Mace confidently, and yeah, they absolutely love it. And most of them actually, they do Kung Fu as well. So there's a good crossover between martial arts, Steel Mace, and they do CrossFit. So all those worlds are kind of combined.
That is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
CrossFit, Kung Fu, and Mace now?
Yeah.
That's like 3 different worlds. That's so cool. Good for you. Like I know here in Yuma, where I'm at in Arizona, we mostly have CrossFits, but they don't like Steel Mace. Like they're not interested in it. They're all about heavy lifting, barbell, So it's so cool to hear that your CrossFit was super open for that.
Yeah. And yeah, we've been very lucky with the types of members that are coming to our gym. You know, they are open-minded and they want to try new things. And that's what we try to keep incorporating into our programming, is exposing them to these different modalities that are ultimately going to help different parts of their training regimen.
Wow, so
Yeah.
freaking
Yeah.
awesome. You're
And
doing an awesome job.
thank you. I was also very fortunate in experiencing the Kung Fu program. So we do have a Kung Fu program at the CrossFit gym.
Oh, shit.
We do everything, like literally everything there, which I think is awesome because you don't find that anywhere else. So yeah, I did do Kung Fu for a few months. So that gave me a good foundation to understand what Kung Fu needs to strengthen. So I bring in those
Right.
exercises and those movements into my Steel Mace class, knowing specifically I can help my Kung Fu students.
That is so cool. And it's cool to hear about this again for the second time this month, because I just had Karina in the last episode, which is really awesome. And then now hearing you, I'm like, there's always something with martial arts and mace. So that's really, really awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and the most recent connection I've made, and I just started bouldering. So it's been around 3 months, and I'm obsessed. Similar to my obsession with Steel Mace, I started bouldering and I fell in love with it. It's amazing. You look at a problem, they're called, you know, like a certain climb. And if you can't figure it out, it's super frustrating, and you really want to do it, and you have to build up the strength to finally like do a certain route. Um,
Wow.
and the connection is so strong between Steel Mace and bouldering because it's all grip work.
Yeah.
Like seriously. And I don't know, I see there's like a demand for it too within like the climbing community, because everyone there is super open-minded. They're always out in nature. Yeah. So
God,
that's
that's so perfect. And you know what? Something that you mentioned too, not just the grip stuff, but it's also this like the strategy stuff. Like I always compare maze to music because that's my background. It's music where it's like patterns and you want to figure them out and then you want to, you know what I mean? So I'm sure that's kind of with rock climbing a little bit.
100%. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
literally a puzzle on the wall.
Puzzle.
And exactly, you're sitting there, you're looking at the wall and you're thinking, okay, what are the steps? What are the strategy? And similar to like a Steel Mace flow, if someone writes out of flow and you're
Yeah.
staring at it, you're thinking in your head, what's the next part after like the crossbody bottom? What's going to get me into that next transition? So yeah, the crossover is very similar. So that's the next step for me, I think, is making those connections and introducing it to the climbing community.
Well, that's cool. This is the first time I've ever heard that. And
Yeah.
I can't wait to see you like post shit on that too. I'm sure you'll be posting stuff.
Yes. Yeah, that's the goal. Like I want to come back to Instagram. This is so terrible. I always post like, finally, I'm back. Like I stopped posting for months and then people are like sick of my shit. Like, you know, I'm sick of myself for doing that all the time. But I have like such a complicated relationship with Instagram. Like the whole thing of it's very addictive, and you know, to a certain point, people always tell you use it to your advantage. You know, use it in little bouts, like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. That's not reality. It's
Yeah.
built to get you addicted to it, and I feel like we all are addicted to Instagram, to some sort of social media. So it's just fighting that addiction, but also using it for a platform to help other people.
It's a fucking dilemma with it. Like I feel the same way. I'm like, I have days where I want to stay off of it, but then I'm like, God, I haven't posted anything. I need to post something. Oh, my podcast coming out. It's coming out on Friday. I just can't get away from it. It's just, it sucks. But I think there's a really good book on that. I started reading it like years ago. I think it's called Hooked. It's a really bright yellow book and it says Hooked right on the front. Yeah, so I started reading about that. And the guy, he worked for some major social media place. I don't know, I don't even remember, but he did research on all of that. And I guess that was his job, getting people hooked on social media. So it's true.
It's hard. Yeah, that balance there. That I think that's one thing that I'll never find balance with. And it's good to have a scheduled break from it. So I think
Yeah.
that's how I'm going to treat it.
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, like I said, I went on your Instagram. I can't tell whether you've been on or off, so you're fine. All
Thank
right.
you.
So you talked a little bit about how your members are confident in Mace when they swing and stuff like that. And you posted something like that too a while back. And you said, I think I have it here. You said to Steel Mace with confidence. Hold on. Blah, blah, blah. It resonated with me because I posted stuff on YouTube before. I thought I had your quote here. And I posted on YouTube before where I see people swinging and I just see this face, like they're just so fearful that it's going to hit them on the ass. And I don't know, I don't know the full story. I don't know if maybe it's been a while or maybe they've just never swung a mace before or something like that. But what do you think people need in order to build up that confidence? Obviously a coach, obviously practice, but what are some things you do to build confidence on that? Anything special?
No, it's just looking inwards. Which is like deep, but you also have to question what's your intent behind the movement. It's like the swing itself visually is very powerful and intimidating. And if you don't approach it like that, it's going to look like shit. Like that's just how it's going to look. So you have to think I'm out here, I'm swinging a mace and I'm confident it's not going to hit me. And I guarantee it's going to look completely different.
Yeah.
So out of anything, it's that mindset. Because a lot of confident people, it's not like it came out of nowhere. It's that mindset that they had every single day telling themselves that they can and they will. So.
Right. Now, okay, going on to the next question. Do you struggle with it? I mean, obviously, besides the flexibility stuff, anytime within the last month or so, have you been struggling with anything when it comes to Steel Mace training? Or is there just something that you've been struggling with?
Oh my gosh. Well, flows. I am not a flower, as you can tell from my Instagram. I'm very like strength, and more strength. That creativity, I think I don't really explore, and I would definitely want to. I follow all the flow people. Like that's majority of my feed actually are flows. And I tried to kind of like recreate that, but with complexes. So it's more choppy, more like we're going to take a pause here and pull apart before we do another switch and go into the next movement. So that's definitely something that I struggle with, is just like letting go and creating a flow. Because it's funny. I think it's also from my childhood of being a dancer and feeling really awkward on stage. It kind of puts you in that spotlight of, your heart kind of shining through in a flow and being afraid that someone's going to judge it and be like, that looks kind of dumb, or, why are you doing that? So I think that's why maybe I haven't even tried to explore it.
I love that you brought that up because I think you're my twin on that one. Like I'm hearing you, it feels like it's a reflection in me because I'm way better off with, and I like how you gave it a name because I've always struggled to kind of explain that, but you're like, it's kind of like more strength, right? More like, and the way I explain it is a Viking ninja, right? Viking ninja and Steel Mace flow looks so different. And I keep telling you, I think I'm more like I'm natural at the Viking ninja rather than the Steel Mace flow. And I just don't dance at all. I have no fucking rhythm. I can sing, but I have no fucking rhythm. So at least you danced for a while when you were young.
Yeah. At least I danced. Like I said, I wasn't that good. So I'm just like at a mace and it's gonna be a train wreck. Like I can't wait to see that.
But you fucking tried. You tried. I don't even try. Maybe one day I'll try to fucking dance. But
I literally
okay.
try behind closed doors. Like if no one's watching, maybe that's when I'll try.
Right on. So maybe we might see you Steel Mace flow at some point.
I would love to learn. Yes.
Right on.
I would love to learn.
Yeah. All right. So where do you see yourself in a couple of years with Steel Mace? I think you kind of gave us a glimpse right now, but where do you see yourself? Maybe like a year or two.
Yeah, I think, which is crazy, it's already been 2 years doing Mace. I think for me, it's definitely connecting with more people. Sometimes I struggle to kind of incorporate it in my personal training clients routines, because we'll stick to, you know, the regular strength training routines that you might find at a gym, or if they're still working out from home and they don't have a mace, we'll do some like body weight conditioning and stuff like that. So not preaching, but preaching at the same time that like why the steel mace is super important and it can have so many benefits, not only mentally, but a lot of physical benefits, and introducing it to way more people than I have introduced it to now. And to, you know, like I had brought up the climbing community, definitely introducing it to different communities, not just, you know, fitness people, maybe like in the corporate world. Why not?
Hell yeah. I can see you doing that for sure.
Yeah. And I think there's a demand for people just to experience different things in fitness. Because there's always a new thing. There's always a new invention out on the market, literally every single month, it seems. So there's still a lot of people that haven't been exposed to the mace, even though my Instagram feed is now being like filled with a lot of people getting certified and a lot of people training it. There's still, you know, people that don't follow those fitness accounts, don't know what the heck it is. So I think me and you, we have a good chance to introduce it to a lot of people, you know.
Yeah, and it's, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think we're in this bubble and we think everyone knows about it and we think it's like growing really fast, but at the same time, like I'll swing a mace at the park and like people look at me funny and they probably think what you thought. What the fuck is that? A circus act? What is that? They don't even approach me. I think they're kind of intimidated by it. And then I got the shaved sides, so I kind of scare them off. But you know, not a lot of people know about it. So I wish I wish more people jump on, and I hope that more people tag other trainers, and there's more of that too.
Definitely. No, I totally agree. And, you know, that's the goal. I know this is like Leo's tagline is like more mace and more hands. Yeah. And I love that, because that's ultimately the goal. We just want to share our passion with other people. And that's exactly the goal, is more mace and more hands.
Yeah. And I think we're all doing a phenomenal job. Leo's doing a fucking awesome job. Eric, all the trainers, you, me, every podcast. I know Steel Mace Nation. I don't know if you know about Steel Mace. Yeah. Steel Mace Nation has a podcast now. So it's getting out there. We're doing a good job.
It's getting out there. Yeah. And another company, Set for Set, I have to give them a shout out, because they've given me such a great opportunity with, I'm obsessed with education. So it's like me creating YouTube content for them, using their awesome maces, bands, kettlebells, all of their equipment.
Yeah. You know what? I was gonna fucking ask you that earlier, and I knew I had forgot a question. But yes, I wanted to know what your deal was with Set for Set. And I know you've been doing like YouTube videos with them. So you're just like an ambassador. You work for them. What's that all about?
Yeah, you can call me an ambassador for sure. So the way that I approached Set for Set is I found their Instagram, and I think initially I had bought my 10-pound mace from them, and they were still like a smaller company. But my mace came in and I noticed it was coated with the matte, I don't know what it's called. It's like matte and also like a little grippy on the mace. And I really liked that. So I left a review. I reached out to them, and I was just wondering if they were hiring a blogger, because I was like, oh, I just like love mace training, and maybe I can incorporate some educational stuff within their blogging, which they were already, you know, sending me emails about everything since I had bought the mace, and I loved the content. It was super helpful. So I got into contact with them, and they wanted someone that was super not educated, but they had like a background in blogging, and that was definitely not me. I'm like, I just blog for fun. Like I don't have, you know, like a extensive background in that. So then they had asked me if they stalked my Instagram, and then they asked if I do like any video content, and I said yes, and we kind of took off from there.
Right on. See, I knew something was going on, because I mean, you always have that big ass Set for Set banner behind you, and I'm like, I have to ask her about that. And I love Set for Set too. I have tons of their maces back here. I recently bought one of their bands, their little power bands, and I'm looking into getting their kettlebells, because I want to try them out. By the way, how are those kettlebells? I know you got one already.
Yeah, they're good. They're super comfy. Like again, it's matted with a more grippy, I have no idea what it's called. But it's grippy. Like, you don't need chalk when you're.
Okay.
My pet peeve is when people use chalk with their steel mace. Do you do that?
No, I do not. I've
Oh,
never
God.
had to use it. I mean, I know I get it for competitions because they get really
Oh, yeah, that's
sweaty.
different.
Yeah, but like regular, like flow, and I've never gotten to the point where I'm like super sweaty from my hands for that.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I do know one person, and I'm not gonna put him on the spot, but I do know one person who had like really, really sweaty hands. And he was like, I need chalk. Like, I need chalk. So, I mean, I guess there's reasons for it, but no,
Yeah.
I don't
Totally.
use chalk for flow.
No, but with their coating, like, it just feels super comfortable. So that's literally one of the reasons why it's my favorite brand of mace and kettlebell. So
Okay. So you would say kind of like the coatings, like probably, so if someone owns like a mace, it's almost like the mace.
yeah, it's, I would say, like, yeah, similar or exactly the same. It
Okay.
feels like.
I'm just curious. I'm over here like when you're bursting your bubble, huh? You're like, I'm doing such a terrible, I'm so sorry. Set for set. Oh God. No, and actually I was supposed to have him on the podcast, the owner, and he was in China and it just didn't work out. It was like he just couldn't get online. I was like so bummed out. So maybe later we'll have him back on here.
Yeah, I would love to hear his story, hear where he got the whole idea from, because I know now they're working on more products, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I hope I can get him back on here, and we'll cross our fingers for that. Okay, so one last question. What are some words of encouragement that you would give to a beginner or maybe someone struggling with mace training right now?
Yes. So something that really helped me is just keep going. I mean, literally everyone says that, right? But just keep going. It's with training with the mace, it's a consistent thing that's going to keep you progressing. For me personally, it took maybe 6 months to get comfortable with swinging a heavy mace overhead. And then it really took 1 year to perfect it. It's never perfect, but to feel like, okay, like I can now swing a little bit heavier. So just keep going, stay consistent, and be confident, just approach the mace like you're the boss. Like, hey, we're doing this today. Big lats, big heart. Approach the mace with confidence and just keep going.
I love that. I think that should be like your quote for life. Be confident.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love
confidence, I don't think, it doesn't come easy for anyone. It's a daily mindset for sure.
Yeah. I've struggled with it for a long time. I'm still not great at flow. That's definitely my voice, my frustration. All right.
Help us out.
For real. Okay. So where can people find you? How can they get a hold of you? Go.
Yes. Find me on Instagram at Paulina Kairys. And I think you can email me straight through my Instagram. The best is DMs though, because I get a notification and although I wasn't getting your notifications, Victoria.
God damn it.
I muted my Instagram for a little bit. But yeah, I will get your DMs. So I'll make sure to respond immediately.
All right. Right on. No website, no nothing.
Oh my gosh, no. So another thing I struggle with is branding.
Okay.
Definitely imposter syndrome. I'm like, who am I to have a brand?
You're a badass. You are a badass. Remember that. And you need to work on your branding, Paulina.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'll keep that in mind. Yes. So it's a process. Hopefully website will be coming out soon. In the meantime, it's just those Instagram DMs for sure.
All right. Well, thank you for being here. I fucking appreciate it. Thank you for saying yes. And honestly, I know we've been trying to book this for a long time. Thank you. Like, seriously.
No, thank you for having me. When you reached out the second time, I was like, oh my gosh, she didn't forget about me. I was so excited.
Absolutely not. Fuck my kidneys. It was my kidneys. All right. Well, may the universe always flow with you.
Thank you, and with you.